Chapter 9 The Leopard by Ruskin Bond.
I first saw the leopard when I was crossing the small stream that ran through the forest at the bottom of the hill on which I lived when I first came to Mussoorie. The ravine was so deep that for most of the day it remained in shadow. This encouraged many birds and animals to emerge from cover during the hours of daylight. Few people ever passed that way. Nearly every morning and sometimes during the day, I heard the cry of the barking deer, and in the evening walking through the forest. I disturbed parties of college pheasants. The birds went gliding into the ravines on open, motionless wings. I saw pine martens and a handsome red fox. I recognized the footprints of a bear. As I had not come to take anything from the jungle, the birds and animals soon grew accustomed to my face, or possibly they recognized my footsteps. After some time, my approach did not disturb them. The langurs in the oak and rhododendron trees, for instance, who would at first go leaping through the branches at my approach, now ignored me as they munched up the tender green shoots of the oak. One evening as I passed, I heard them chattering in the trees, and I was not the cause of their excitement. As I crossed the stream and began climbing the hill, the grunting and chattering increased, as though the langurs were trying to warn me of some hidden danger. A shower of pebbles came rattling down the steep hillside, and I looked up to see a sinewy orange-gold leopard poised on a rock about 20 feet above me. It must have sensed my presence because it slowly turned its head and looked down at me. It seemed a little puzzled at my presence there, and when, to give myself courage, I clapped my hands sharply, the leopard sprang away into the thickets, making absolutely no sound as it melted into the shadows. The leopard, like other members of the cat family, is nearing extinction in India, and I was surprised to find one so close to Mussoorie. Probably the deforestation that had been taking place in the surrounding hills had driven the deer into this green valley, and the leopard naturally had followed. It was some weeks before I saw the leopard again, although I was often made aware of its presence. A dry, rasping cough sometimes gave it away. At times I felt certain that I was being followed. One day, I found the remains of a barking deer that had been partially eaten. I wondered why the leopard had not hidden the remains of his meal and decided that he had been disturbed while eating. Then, climbing the hill, I met a party of shikaris resting beneath the oaks. They asked me if I had seen a leopard. I said I had not. They said they knew there was a leopard in the forest. Leopard skins, they told me, were selling in Delhi at over 1,000 rupees each. Of course, there was a ban on the export of these skins, but they gave me to understand that there were ways and means. I thanked them for their information and moved on, feeling uneasy and disturbed. One day after crossing the stream, I climbed Paritibba, a bleak, scrub-covered hill where no one lived. This was a stiff undertaking because there was no path to the top, and I had to scramble up a precipitous rock face with the help of rocks and roots which were apt to come away in my groping hand. There I found the ruins of what must have been the first settlers, just a few piles of rubble now overgrown with weeds, sorrel, dandelion and nettles. As I walked through the roofless ruins, I was struck by the silence that surrounded me, the absence of birds and animals, the sense of complete desolation. But there was something else of which I was becoming increasingly aware, the strong feline odor of one of the cat family. I paused and looked about. I was alone. There was no movement of dry leaf or loose stone. The ruins were for the most part open to the sky. Their rotting rafters had collapsed and joined together to form a low passage like the entrance to a mine. The smell was stronger when I approached this spot, so I stopped again and waited there, wondering if I had discovered the lair of the leopard, wondering if the animal was now at rest after a night's hunt. Perhaps it was crouched there in the dark, watching me, recognizing me, knowing me as a man who walked alone in the forest without a weapon. I like to think that he was there and that he knew me and that he acknowledged my visit in the friendliest way by ignoring me altogether. Perhaps I had made him confident, too careless, too trusting of the human in his midst. I did not venture any further. I did not seek physical contact or even another glimpse of that beautiful, sinewy body springing from rock to rock. It was his trust I wanted, and I think he gave it to me. But did the leopard, trusting one man, make the mistake of bestowing his trust on others? Did I, by casting out all fear, my own fear and the leopard's protective fear, leave him defenseless? Because next day, coming up the path from the stream, shouting and beating their drums, were the shikaris. They had a long bamboo pole across their shoulder, and slung from the pole, feet up, head down, was the lifeless body of the leopard. "We told you there was a leopard," they shouted in good humor. "Isn't he a fine specimen?" "Yes," I said, "he was a beautiful leopard." I walked home through the silent forest. It was very silent, almost as though the birds and animals knew their trust had been violated. I remembered the lines of a poem by D.H. Lawrence, and as I climbed the steep and lonely path to my home, the words beat out their rhythm in my mind. There was room in the world for a mountain lion and me.
To live and let live must be our motto, for Earth is home to humankind as well as to animals and plants.